Hey, this is Christopher Parham from the Hemisphere Forum. I just got back from a ride. It was a night ride. It was a midnight full moon ride. Um, and I really wasn't trying to do anything on the ride, just riding motor only, wasn't really trying to pedal. Um, and it, it kind of shed light on a lot of things about the motor. I think I mentioned earlier on the Facebook page that there's a lot of cogging or a lot of drag with it, and I thought it was me being out of season. Um, it's been winter, so I haven't been doing a lot of cycling, and so normally I pedal a lot. I may look big and everything, but I like to pedal a lot. So so I started pedaling tonight, and it's not leg weakness. There is a drag on this motor, so I'm glad that this one is kind of made for speed and for, riding like a moped, because pedaling this thing is just like horrible. So one thing I'm gonna have to figure out is either how to get a pass sensor on it so that it's giving me enough assist to overcome the drag, or switch it over to a single speed front derailleur with a huge chain ring and a path sensor, and just make it a high speed build where I can pedal along. The last build that I had, I did have I think it's the TCDM torque sensing bottom bracket, and that was a wonderful thing to have. And I had a 62 chain ring, and so I could pedal up to 30, 35, 40 miles per hour easy. And I would love to get back to another setup that's like that, but I'm gonna take things one step at a time. But there is an immense amount of drag, and it's not leg weakness or anything. But one thing about powerful motors is um, drag kind of comes along you know with that territory. So if you have a high power motor, you might have a little drag. It's the same thing with the older crystallites. The older crystallites, they were powerful for their time, but they tend to have some drag. And like I said, it just feels like you're just pedaling through mud or molasses. And it can get real discouraging real quick, But, this ride, I was getting pretty decent mileage. I was getting like maybe 3 to 4 miles per amp hour, and like I was really lugging it. I was keeping it in legal only mode, which was 1,000 watts, which was enough to kind of keep pace with the group. And like I said, there's just this low end growl that's it's to be respected, But it's so far from what I'm seeing, it's pretty nice. And then I let her open it up a little bit on a few stretches that I could. And one thing that I've noticed, that even when thermal throttling kicks in, like at around 120C, I'm still able to maintain like 40 miles an hour, even though it's pulling the power back. Remember, this build does have a 7,000 watt peak, and so it's pulling the power back. So I'm not able to peak up to 7,000 watts. So it's more or less pulling it back to about 3 or 4,000, and even at that wattage rating, it's still pulling like 40 miles per hour, and you can kind of tell um, what the cycle analyst is doing. And like I said, this is more of a wattage restriction. Like I said, it pulls it back a percentage um, to try to maintain a certain temperature. So I think the rating of the motor holds true, that somewhere around 3 or 4,000 watts is able to maintain that continuous consumption at a certain temperature and still put out decent performance. No, I wasn't getting up to 50, but I was in the low 40s while it was pulling the power back, and I think that's still pretty respectable, because most of my other motors, they just would have, when you take the power away, they just immediately slow down to nothing. So, um, You know, so I found out a few good things today. So um, I'm gonna do a highlight reel of, you know, a few little takeoffs and acceleration from the ride tonight. But I would say tonight was a good night. Just realized I can't pedal this bike like I want it unless I'm really just pedaling it at like 15 miles an hour, because it's just so damn slow. You know, I gotta find a way. I think I'm gonna have to reset my presets to where I have one where it's like maybe like 100 watts assist. You know, like I said, just, you know, where I can lock in cruise control for a certain speed, or have it assist like 100 watts just to overcome that drag and make the bike feel a little bit more normal. But like I said, the way I have it now, it came in handy. Like I said, my legal came in handy. I was able to keep pace with the group. Um, so legal does match a normal human being. Then my 3,000 watt, you know, if I found myself lagging behind, I just flipped it to 3,000 watts. So like, if there was nothing else around and I just wanted to get my fix for that, you know, 10 minutes or whatever, I would just, you know, accelerate, flip it into unlimited mode, accelerate, um, and then turn back around and fall back in behind the group. And motor cools off very quickly, even though I got it up to the thermal limit. Like I said, within a few minutes it had already dropped down to like 80, and then I think the motor actually hovers around 40. Like if you warmed it up, it hovers around 40 if you actually let it cool off. And when I mean 40, I mean 40C. So you know, it has very, very good cooling capabilities. Like I said before, if you were in like traffic or whatever, you can get on the throttle, accelerate. You know, by the time you get to the next light, you probably warm the motor up a little bit, but waiting it that like 2 or 3 minutes, it'll cool it back down to where that thermal limiting that the cyber analyst does is not even an issue. So like, yeah, I can dump power in the motor, I can get it hot, but it's cooling off so quickly to where it's able to maintain a decent continuous power to where the fun is never gone. You know, so it's, you know, when you turn on the throttle, the power is there, especially when it's cold. When you turn on the throttle, the power is there, but even when it's warmed up, I'm still able to get good acceleration, get up to 40 miles an hour, even when the motor is hot. So that's something I've never felt out of non-C motors, the Magic Pi. It was just diminishing results. You get the motor hot, it's just, one, it stays hot, and then two, the hotter it gets, the less power that it's putting out. And not because of thermal limiting, it's just you're saturating the magnet, so it's not creating that intense field, you know, to and then you got the copper, you know, when copper heats up, the resistance gets higher, so it's not able to get that power in the motor and make it into, you know, kinetic energy. You know, it's but this motor, like I said, you know, it may heat up, but it cools down very quickly, and it's just, like I said, it's continuous fun. Tonight it was like 30 something degrees, and I was still having fun. You know, the other day it was a little bit warmer, and the controller was heating up a little bit. It was like maybe 70, 75 degrees, and I was beating on it around the neighborhood, and the controller was heating up. But you know, I'm still, like I said, I'm still putting it through its paces. I want to do a long, constant trip, or, you know, like a long trip, 20 miles per hour, so I can dial in, you know, what type of mileage I'll get at 20 miles per hour. And this will be like a throttle only test, you know, where like I got a silver Comet trail by my house, and it's a continuous flat level trail. And if I time it just right, I can get out on the trail and just lock in cruise control and ride, you know, 50, 75 miles without, you know, any interaction from anybody. So I pretty much have the whole trail myself, so I can get good solid data. Still haven't found the top speed of the motor yet. I know I've calculated the speed, and it's supposed to get up to 55 miles an hour, 50 to 50 miles per hour is the top speed. My unloaded speed is 75 miles an hour, so you know, if I take 20 to 25% of that, it puts me in the 50, 55 mile per hour category, but I can't find a street that's safe and that's long enough that allows me to wind out to the full speed. But, you know, still the acceleration up to 40, 45 miles per hour is just insane, even uphill. That's the thing that's bugging me. I've never had a motor accelerate uphill like this one. I mean, people, you know, have Crow motors and everything, but this motor for the price, and if you put it on the right controller at the right voltage, you can't beat this value. I mean, I know people like back in the day were, you know, hot rodding 9C motors. For the same price of a 9C, you can get this motor. I haven't even vented mine yet. You know, I could vent mine, put holes in the cover and extend my, you know, run time, you know, to get rid of some of the heat. But like I said, even with an enclosed motor, it's cooling down so fast to where I don't think it needs to be vented. You know, it may be a project that I pursue later on in the future, but, you know, I had vented 9C motors that, you know, just really couldn't hang, and this one, you know, is just doing what I want and what I expected. I'm trying to push it more and more just to see what the continuous duty is, and even like I said, even when I get it hot, it still has amazing performance. So, you know, if you're looking for a next motor or next build or whatever, you need to get this motor, because if you sleep on this, and I mean, like, things are constantly evolving or whatever, but for right now, Crow motor versus this motor, this MXUS 3000 watt motor, I would get this motor over the Crow motor any day. You know, the Crow motor is 5 millimeters wider and a little bit heavier, but no, this is the most bang for your buck, and I'm always looking for that motor that's the underdog, that's a good performer. You know, I was sold on the Pi for a little while, but no, this motor, I snagged it on the Ellisphere at a good price, and, you know, when I picked it up, I knew I had something that was real, that was solid, and putting it on the bike and just, you know, feeling. I mean, I've had the old Crystalite motors. I had a 5303 and I was feeding it 10,000 watts. It was great and all, but, you know, this bike at 7,000 watts, it's just so much more efficient. It's putting so much power down that's actually rideable, that's not going towards heat. It's just a thrilling ride. So that's all I have for now. That's the update. Thanks for watching.